I grew up on a farm, but the happy farm in my daydreams was the pioneer farm. The first time I saw Upper Canada Village, I was enchanted. My favorite place was the schoolhouse. We made candles and carded wool, the smell of wood smoke, pine trees, and earth carrying us back in time. Our teacher told us stories of hardy pioneers, the founders of Canada. When I got home, I was breathless with excitement. Mom, there was a blacksmith and a weaver. The farmer had horses. We ate fresh bread and cheese. My mother didn't pause in her work. Yes, and you know what they did if you had a cavity. There was no anesthetic. Mom was not one for romanticizing farm life before electricity and running water. My fantasy of the idyllic pioneer life was dented, though it took years for me to see the much uglier side, the genocide of Indigenous peoples. Even longer to see how I've benefited. In my childhood, I learned the stereotypes about Native people, and I perpetuated those stereotypes. I learned the myths about the brave, hard-working pioneers who tamed the wilderness. My community had its own myths. It wasn't until university that I learned about colonialism and genocide. It was decades later that I took it closer to home. I was in a workshop led by scholar and choreographer Henry Daniel. In the middle of dancing to another participant's story, spoken in her mother tongue, Portuguese, one familiar word struck me. Terra, earth. I wondered for the first time, where would I be if the land my family farmed hadn't been stolen from Indigenous peoples? How did Indigenous people connect to that land before they were dispossessed? That particular land. I began researching the history of the region we farmed, part of a vast tract of stolen land. Media, historians, and governments erased colonization then, and they continue to erase it now. I found accurate books and articles too. A film by Stories of Decolonization struck a deep chord. The main setting is Manitoba, but the stories ring true to me here in Eastern Ontario. I don't know my next step. I have a few ideas. Sharing this video, I worry, do I sound ungrateful for the sacrifices my parents made? Am I reinforcing colonialism, centering my story? What will I do differently, having taken time for this research and reflection? And I wonder, how can we share ancestral stories in ways that are liberating and lead to action? Action that decolonizes in concrete ways. I'm going to take that question to teachers and historians in my home community. I'm sure there are folks on that land asking themselves, where would I be? And what will I do?